Welcome back to the B4evaKool adventure series that we're doing here on B4evaKool. My name is Rex45. We have Nomad on two wheels and Jimbo Tarpey, also known as Two Wheels One Compass. Again on the show, what's going on, guys? How have things been since the last time we spoke? I Nomad, I saw that every video is like a different country you're in, which is pretty wild. And likewise, Jimbo, I love the videos you're putting out as well on IG and stuff like that. I've been definitely getting into those. So how things been? We'll start off with Jimbo. How things been, man?
Good. I'm still in Chile. The videos that have been coming out recently have started to catch up to the Chile episodes. So there's been a lot on the introduction, a couple things in the desert up north, and there will be releases coming out going into Patagonia eventually. The stories that are coming right now are Patagonia. They've had great traction. Chileans have been loving my videos. It's gotten quite a bit of notoriety and exposure and several different um, other pages like tourism pages and stuff. So that's been pretty sweet. I've been liking Santiago, but it's been getting cold in the southern hemisphere here. It's getting into winter soon, so the leaves are all changing. Complete opposite of the northern hemisphere. Yeah, so the leaves are changing. It's getting cold, and yeah, so riding is getting a little risky sometimes. There's been snow here and there, but still staying on two wheels. I've been loving it here.
Right. So now, do you run the heated gear? I guess I never asked you guys that in all the traveling you've been doing. Do you guys have heated gear with a battery or tethered to the bike, Jimbo?
I do not. I have heated grips.
Okay.
That's as much as I have. I actually just recently, oh, you guys probably know what it's called, but it's like the port that you could run out of a battery that
Yeah, the battery
can
tender. Yeah.
yeah.
You would charge your battery with this. Yeah, you can use it to charge your phone or
Yeah.
also power your suit.
Yes, I just got to that. So after going through a record 5 batteries on this journey, I finally have one where I can do that and not worry about uh, cold
Well,
sapping everything and cold cranking apparench and everything. I finally went back to go back to lithium. It's been a journey and long story, but yeah, I don't have anything like that. I just bundle way up.
yeah, no, definitely check it out
Yeah.
because I at first because when I was in Boston, I rode all year. So when obviously if it's snowing, I wasn't riding, but I rode January, February, December, 22-degree weather. I rode in, but I had heated socks, heated pants, heated jacket, heated gloves, all plugged into the bike. So,
Oh man.
and now they have some really cool battery operated gear that really lasts a decent amount of time. Not for 5-hour riding, but if you're doing an hour and a half riding, you can get away with some battery
Yeah.
stuff that work really well. And you can always just get multiple batteries if in worst case.
Yeah, my biggest fear is I got to take the bike out of Chile and bring it back in before I'm going to make a visit back to the United States to see family soon. So I
Uh-huh.
could get a brand new, fresh temporary import permit, another 90 days. But to do that, the entire border of Argentina and Chile is a mountain range. And so at some point in the late fall, early winter, I'm going to have to see if I can find a dry window to cross.
Right.
I'll report back. That'll probably be after the next podcast. So.
There you go. We're gonna have to get you some heated gear sponsors, man. Come on. Nomad, man. How are things, man? I already said it. I'm loving your videos, and it's interesting to hear what you say this round because for the first few interviews and also the show, you had gone through some tough times, but now I see you're smiling more. So how things been in the last month?
Well, definitely haven't had to use any winter gear, so it's I've actually been sweating. I think I've lost weight because I've been sweating so much. But yeah, but at the end of the day, I think this part of my travels has been pretty interesting and very, very positive. It's finally starting to show some light. I was like you said, it was like there were some parts of Africa that were really, really a challenge. But I think now it's definitely gotten a lot better given the people that I've been meeting, and just the riding that I've been doing. I'm not destroying my bike. Um, but yeah, I mean, all in all, it's been actually the people have made it so much better.
Right.
Um, you know, we have a tendency when we watch the news, we hear a lot about West Africa, and it's such a bad. The news pinpoints such a bad, puts such a bad, perception on West Africa, and when you get there, you come to realize that it is absolutely nothing like what the news has been saying. Like it's to the point where the U.S. media, when I hear it, I'm just like I just shake my head now because just like I've been to these countries, and
Right.
they are nothing like what they've been saying on the news. Like my mom is always telling me, she's like, "Ah, yeah, this is going on in Nigeria. This is going." Okay, yes, maybe it's going on in a piece of the country, which is like way far away, so far away from where you would even go. Um, it's almost like people in Africa would see a school shooting in Colorado and then will
Yeah.
think like all of the United States is a school shooting, so it's
Right.
the
Right.
same concept. Um, but the people have made it so much better. And even other travelers that I've been seeing coming south, they just put their hands up and they're like, I don't know, man. It's been amazing. The people have been incredible. The only thing I can say that it's really annoying is the visas, and sometimes the border crossings can be really annoying. So, because things change
Right.
depending on the
Right. Right.
person,
Right.
nothing's really consistent. But other than that, it's been really good. And I was told that once I pass Nigeria, it's going to be really cool. Like people will be a little bit different.
Right.
Or
Right.
once I get to Nigeria, people will be like the roads will be better, the borders will be better. Like everyone, like people will be really. I felt like everyone's going to be friendly,
Right. Right.
regardless. Start like almost all of Africa, which has been the case. Um, but at the end of the day, I really want to put that out there that it is not what people think.
Right.
Not what people think. And, you know, yeah, you go to like, even right now, Burkina Faso, like everyone's, that's kind of been a high alert right now. But I would love to go there just to show that it's probably not what the media has been telling
Media is
us.
saying so. So
Yeah.
let me ask this. In the earlier countries that you were in between from the last show, do you think it's more like it's just more rural? There's just less opportunities as far as money coming in. So people, when every day is you survival, when we surviving on every day, we're a different
Right.
animal than when we know we're good for 6 months.
I would say the biggest difference between the Southern Africa and just like West Africa and Central Africa is the fact that Southern Africa is just more used to tourism. So everything
Yeah.
they thrive on tourism. So everything is catered to tourism. We're at like, for instance, like you go into a campsite and there's hot water in the campsite. You have your own evolution in the campsite and everything and all that stuff. But it's just like it's there. It's like you have a sink, you have a grill, you have all this stuff in the campsite. Whereas Central Africa, there are no campsites, and you go to a accommodation, and now you're spending $25-$30 for a fan in your room, and there's like no bug net. It's like they don't really care about the whole tourism thing. It's like they don't understand. They just think that people just come in and have money and will
Yeah.
just pay for it.
Right.
Their whole concept of
Which is
accommodation
kind
is
of
just kind
true
of
though,
like
right? It's like, this is what we got. Take it or leave it.
yeah. That's just what it is. Neither you have Wi-Fi or the power's out. You don't have
Yeah.
Wi-Fi or the power's out.
Right, right,
So
right, right. So, and do you think that, and looking back, because I know when you were going through it, you probably wanted to flip over a lot of tables. But in hindsight, did that make you more appreciative of getting more west and more northern west into different countries now that your things are getting better?
Yeah, so I think as I started to go up the west coast of Africa, it became more of a cultural thing and seeing all the tribes. Because you would like when I got to Angola, you'd see people literally, you know, with the stick, with the stick and like no shirt, but then would have like a, and they're just like it was almost like when you go into a when you go on a tour and they bring you to this one place where everyone is dressed like that, but it's not really the
Yeah,
case today, you know. So like
like
they
a
don't dress like that
cosplay
every
of
day.
something. Like,
Yeah, yeah. So, but these guys, that was them. That was your tribe. That's yeah. I could probably go there and just try to talk to them and you know have a little interview with them and yeah, they're just doing their everyday thing I also you know realize that when the media shows Africa, they show either war or poverty. The places that
Mhm.
I've been have been booming cities. Like when I say skyscraper buildings all over the place, like it's just they never show that part of Africa, never, which is kind of crazy because it's just it really puts this image in our mind about Africa that it's either poor or it's at war. And at the end of the day, it's really, really, really not like that. And you go to like Benin and they're like this, everything's clean and they have it's not it's. I would love for people to actually go to West Africa and just experience it because it's not what you see on the news on the media.
Gotcha.
yeah, a lot of the metrics that we look at, there's a lot of them that could vary, but like child mortality, GDP, a lot of
Mhm.
these in a very short amount of time, since a lot of these nations had received independence in the 70s, have
Mhm.
had like triple digit percentage growth year over year. We're talking like over
Mhm.
100% doubling their output, catching up to the rest of the more developed countries on the continent. And
Yeah.
I don't think that maybe it just doesn't sell clicks. There's an Ebola outbreak. I heard that before. Let's look at it again. But
Yeah.
I guess, like, I think you could say the same thing sometimes about Minneapolis and Minnesota. There was a time when it was pretty unstable during the pandemic, but it doesn't really sell stories when it's doing better. You don't
Right.
hear unless there's maybe a cat in a tree for the fire departments, like just showing the slow grind of improvement doesn't really sell a headline unless there's one day after a full year. Like, for example, we just got, the highest high school graduation rate in Minnesota history
Mhm.
was 2024. And then that's it. And then it's over. No one's talking about it. It'll be done. It was one headline. We hit a record.
Yeah.
Great, cool. That's like the best it's ever been, but it
Yeah.
may not be.
Yeah.
It may not sell headlines. So I can understand how the. I've been to places in Mexico like Sinaloa. I've had friends come through Venezuela, and the mentality toward these areas, because there's such negative press, is that they
Mhm.
are they just, nope, I got an idea what it is. It's been ingrained in my
Yeah.
head. I know about it. But when you're on the ground, it could probably, I think Nomad and I know that it could be kind of frustrating to
Yeah.
see what it is on the ground and have people screaming online, go, I can't believe you're there. Be careful. Oh my
Yeah. Yeah.
gosh, it's going to be so,
Yeah.
it's a total misconception.
Yes.
So I get it.
Yeah, I know a little bit about that. Growing up in the city of Boston in the 80s and 90s, of what the outside think versus what's actually going on, and it's like a low hanging fruit, right, guys? Where for the media, it's easy for them to say these things, but hear you guys talking about this, it is really harming tourism and travel.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes that makes a place nice. Growing up in Costa Rica in 2010, when I lived there, Costa Rica is a very stable place, has a ton of tourism. So everybody knew the tricks on how to do little scams, or the pickpocketing and petty theft would be a lot more common. You cross the border north into Nicaragua, and it's become much more tourist recently. But in 2010, to navigate Nicaragua, you needed Spanish. They had to hire Europeans to work in their hostels because nobody spoke English. And when Nomad and I met there, like a whole whole new generation Z had been working in all the hostels that had quite high English proficiency. But in the time before tourism was very popular or common in Nicaragua, it was safer from petty theft. There were lower crime rates. It was poorer, so your dollar went farther. There was way more to see. The last time anyone heard of Nicaragua in 2010 was maybe the Civil War in the 80s. So my parents were a little freaked out that, oh my, you're going to Nicaragua. Last I heard, it was pretty rough, and that was like 20 years ago. It's like 10 years from now, finding out your friend's son is going to study abroad in Syria. Oh, that's all I've heard of is terrible things. But some time has passed, and so sometimes those non-touristy places could be quite the gem, as Nomad is definitely showcasing about West Africa. I don't know much about West Africa, so it's very good to hear.
Yeah. A good example is El Salvador. I mean that El Salvador is like been known for its crime, and you don't go to El Salvador. It's always been known for that. But then by the time I went, I honestly it's probably my top 4 most friendliest countries that I've ever been to.
Wow.
El Salvadorians are amazing. They were so happy to have tourists, and they were invited with open arms. Like it was such a complete different experience. Because it's funny because I actually was a little bit nervous going to El Salvador in the beginning as well, because obviously it had the history, but obviously there was a whole crime cleanup and all that stuff. So I had spoken to some other travelers that they loved El Salvador, they loved the coast. It was really amazing, and the people were friendly. And then when I got there, that's exactly how I felt. I was like, this is a very, very friendly country.
Yeah, you put it on a small scale. Like Minnesota doesn't have a lot of tourism, so when we had the Super Bowl in 2018, it blew people's minds that there would be people, out of towners, and everyone's like, "Holy crap! Yeah, let me show you this. Let me show you that." I ran into this couple from this place. They're still talking today about how they met John Hamm or Brad Pitt in some bar somewhere years later. They're going to be telling for the rest of their lives. But if you go to like a very touristy place, the stereotypes that maybe New Yorkers have about people wearing the "I Heart New York" T-shirts in New York, the cliche, like, oh, geez, more tourists. Or I can't imagine what France is like, or Paris. Like Paris is I think, the most visited city on earth in terms of tourism. How they view tourism, like the mentality, it could be quite different depending on how often it's traveled. So going into those off the beaten path places like El Salvador, for example, or some non-touristy parts of Nicaragua or Colombia, you do get you're received very differently, I think.
Nice. Guys, I want to thank you guys for getting us caught up with what's been happening. But let's get into some questions for new riders trying to get into this adventure lifestyle. Let's start with, what do you think are some of the most important things to learn, for off-road riding and stuff like that when you're a new rider? What are some things you think that, riders should focus on when they're just starting to get their feet wet?
Yeah,
this one better. Yeah.
Definitely. I guess the first thing is knowing the bike choice that you have, because that's going to determine a lot regarding how fast you excel. Because if you get a bike that's, say you're new to it, and then you just hop on a GS, 1200, 1250, and you want to go and do some off-road stuff. Well, that's going to be a lot to handle and learn when you have that bike. So bike choice is definitely can be a factor. I'm not saying you cannot learn on that bike. You can learn on any bike, absolutely. But I just think the learning curve is going to be a little bit more difficult if you choose kind of the wrong bike as in the beginning. And also learn things like counterbalancing. That's a huge thing. Counterbalancing is learning how to counterbalance your bike in a corner, on a turn, slow counterbalancing, just learning the the forces of your bike going left and right, and knowing how to control your bike going left and right, especially slow. Slow is probably one of the most important. Absolutely.
When you say slow, like what, 7 miles an hour slow?
Yeah, no, yes, yeah, maybe even slower.
Wow.
Like, I mean, like, just don't even give it any throttle. Just use all clutch, in and out, clutch, in and out, brake, clutch, brake, clutch. That's it. Because
I think
that
90.
balance.
Yeah. I was going to
Go
say, I
ahead.
think 90% of my crashes have been under 10 miles an hour, like tip
Yeah.
overs. And imagine on a bicycle, right? And you're not going really fast. You're going, let's say you're just moving 1 mile an hour. You're kind of going like this, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have centrifugal force keeping your balance. So I think
Mhm.
that's why at slower speeds, more things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like when you are doing something a little bit more technical than your ability. Say you had a little bit of off-road training and you have the confidence, but now you get to a situation where, well, wow, like this is really technical, or at least more technical than what you've learned. Having that counterbalance and being able uh, to kind of just maneuver your bike in a way and hold position in a way that you're able to like maneuver through the situation that you're in. Because a lot of times people will panic and they might go either too fast, they might go too slow, and then they lose their balance and they have to put their foot down. And when you have to put your foot down, sometimes that could affect you in a negative way. But if you're able to keep your balance and stay on the pegs and keep it moving and keep rolling, then you'll definitely be able to maneuver through and tractor through whatever you're trying to get through. So it just depends on your ability to keep the balance, because the balance is extremely 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 important. That's why it's just like if you have time, just practice standing on your pegs with the bike stationary and just trying to stand up on your pegs and keeping that balance, because it really really will help you come off road.
Yeah. And I started, when I did my long distance journey, I really did not have a lot of off road experience. And I think taking a class is extremely important. Maybe even if you had grown up with motocross, like a lot of motorcyclists some in my part of the world do. A lot of the people that were doing their basic rider course to get on the street with a larger bike all had some kind of experience with motocross when they were a kid. But definitely a class at any level is helpful. The one major thing for me was target fixation. What they did was an exercise where they had several cones, and you basically had to do just weave through them. And where your eyes are looking, what cone are you looking at? Is the one you're passing or the next one? You should be looking at the next one. You should be looking what's down the road a little bit. If you're looking too close, then your reaction time is going to be crap when you start to look at something else. So for me, target fixation was something that I needed to work on, and I realized that a lot of my problems were solved um, just by not focusing too close in front of me and just looking out a little bit. That was something for me, and uh, it's not just speaking for Latin America. There are people that avoid dirt at all costs, and they have street tires and they take Harleys. Like there are people that have done a lot of cross continental journeys. However, you severely limit yourself. And if you're thinking of doing a long distance trip like what we've done, uh, no matter what level you're at, you will run into dirt eventually.
Right.
Whether it's in between two cities or you find yourself that's the only way to get to this campground, real long 2 or 3 kilometer driveway, you will find it. And
Mhm.
so it's good to have some even basic level or exposure to having anything, because although there are people that stick to this pavement and that's cool, you're going to find it.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
What do you guys would say to someone that's new and we come up to a situation and we're not sure? Do we turn around? Do we say F it? I mean, you guys are seasoned now, so you probably just keep going. But like, what's the good advice for somebody who's not sure about a situation? I mean, I guess it's one of those things where there's no other option. You have to go. But outside of that, if there's another option, what do you say to new riders?
It's good. I think it's good to say no sometimes. Like there's been times where like it is okay if I get back and I didn't make it and it's dark and because there was one place where I was trying to get to a campground and the entire driveway was nothing but super soft sand in the Chaco region of Paraguay. And I had to contact them later when I had internet and I said, there's no way that I'm going to pick up this bike by myself, fully loaded multiple times on really soft sand. It's not a thing that I'm very good at. I know that much more skilled people on this particular bike have done it, and their videos are all over my Instagram, but I can't do that. And initially, it's actually kind of an ego hit. You're like, look at what I'm doing, look at what I've done, and I'm saying no, I can't do this. Or a real rider, a real traveler, would be able to do something like this. So when you're fighting your own ego like that, it could be actually kind of a I don't know. You may push yourself to get into dangerous situations. You may find yourself going into danger, and I've done that a couple times. So part of the reason that we do this is we're getting just close enough to danger where we want to have a good time and have a good story and get somewhere interesting. But you also must understand the contingencies. Let's say you do fall over, then you can't pick it up. Are you going to get help? Are you putting yourself in a place where you're going to find yourself in maybe some high risk? Do you have enough water? Is there an ability to contact someone? Do you have a first aid kit? Do you have a patch kit? How far do you want this tightrope walk to go? So those things are something to take in consideration, and also just saying no and say I can't or won't do this.
Okay. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Nomad?
I agree. I think there comes a time where you need to know who you are as a writer and know your limits. I wish I could follow my own advice with that. Because I've definitely seen something and then I look at it and I'm just like, I can make it up this, but there's definitely a time where you really need to just take an L, say like, okay, this is going to be a bit too much. There's been times where, I've had to turn around with like river crossings. Like I'll walk the river and, next thing you know, it's like up to my waist almost. And I'm just, okay, this is probably not going to be the best option.
The human dipstick.
Yeah. Or even steep uphills. I mean, I'm notorious for going up steep uphills and failing at them and then going back down and doing it over and over and over and over again. I've done that so many times to the point where I finally made it because I always know that I can make it. But at the end of the day, there is a time where you have to quit. There's been times where I had to stop and say, like, I can't make it up this hill. Very rarely do I look up a hill and it's like, I'm not going to even attempt it. Also, we think about like things like how much luggage do you have? Like Jimbo said, it's like when you drop your bike, are you going to be able to lift it up? Because you're going to drop your bike on this particular situation. Like it's going to happen. You're probably going to go up it a couple times, or you're going to go down this road a couple times, and you're probably going to go down in the sand or something like that. So you're going to end up having to pick up your bike, and it's really annoying when especially if you have picked up your bike multiple times in one, down one road, and you're just like, ugh. And you remember that, and you're just like, I don't want to keep having to pick up my bike all the time, and you know how exhausted you get, and so there is a time where you really have to sit back and say, okay, let's reanalyze the situation because that road looks pretty rough. And then another thing is when you see a road that looks pretty rough, you don't know how rough it's going to get down the line. Yeah. Like it looks rough right now. It can get worse. and then it can get worse to a point where you can't even turn around. So
Yeah.
now you just have to keep going. So you could really screw yourself and end up in a really bad situation. So
I've had that as well with bodies of water like rivers or large puddles. In Peru, I found myself taking a shortcut, and it took me way up into the Altiplano near a mine. And I should not have been up there, but the large mining vehicles, like these huge extractors, had turned a lot of the road into mud and like black oil mud and these big pools of water. I don't know how long ago it had been since it rained, but there was these big pools. And if I got through it, that means that if I did turn around, I'd have to go through these back again. So when I stopped and I gauged how deep it is, like, all right, I can go through this. But I'm thinking, could I do it again? Because there may be something further down this line. And again, I'm by myself. Like, I hate doing this to myself. I make more risks. I take more risks when I know there's someone with me in the potential inevitable situation of dropping a bike. It's not going to use all my energy to lift it up and lift it up and lift it up, or it doesn't get stuck when it's down. So yeah, just like it's kind of like when you're doing that swimming out into the ocean. You got to remember you got to, or a lake, or not on safety things with undertows. I don't know too much. I'm from Minnesota, but let's say you take a swim out into a lake, you got to save half your energy for coming back. A lot of that is calculated into the risk of going off road into the bush.
Got you. You had mentioned something about water earlier, and it's something I didn't think about. Like, how much water do you guys travel with, and how do you measure how much water you should travel with? You know what I mean? Because you don't want to be too much water just for weight and all the other things that may happen. But obviously, you want enough to travel with. So, how do you guys gauge how much water you should travel with?
Generally, I honestly just fill my water bladder up. I have 3 liters, or I'll even, if I know that I'm going down a road or I'm going in a direction where I have some off road challenges, then I'll fill the 3 liter bladder up, and then I will actually get small bottles and put them on my bike as well, strap them to the bike. So I usually carry quite a bit of water because I have ran out of water before in the desert, and it's not fun. When you are really thirsty and you are lifting your bike a lot and you're sweating, and it's really not fun. So not having water, enough water, can really make that journey just 10 times worse. So I always have before I leave, I always put 3 liters of water in my bladder, and then I'll stop at a gas station and get a couple bottles of water, small bottles. So and now, like, honestly, I've been keeping small bottles of water on the bike because there are people on the side of the road that ask me for water. Like, as
Oh,
you're
okay.
riding, yeah, as you're riding, they'll go like this, and they just want water. So I'll just throw them a bottle of water, and yeah, because it gets really hot out here. So
Wow. How about you, Jimbo?
Yeah, I got for those that are watching with visual aid, I have this like backpack that has a water bladder in it. So this I picked this up from the 800s when I met them in British Columbia. I'd never really used this before, but it's a backpack that has a 2 liter bladder and then a little hose that goes in front. And that I have, so the water isn't taking up space on the bike as much, because then you have to factor in balance and the fact that it could break or leak. What do you want to get wet? It's just all contingencies. But having it on my back like that means that I can sip water and drink water while I ride as well. So I don't have to pull over if I'm, let's say, pressed for time. I don't have to worry about having my entire bike equipped with the panniers. I can go pannierless if I'm just going around town or going for a quick ride. I have it on me. But when I'm doing like long distance or something off road, I have another kind of bladder that expands. I could try to find it, but basically it carries 5 gallons, and but it
Wow.
folds up to the size. It like expands when you fill it with water, but the thing can really flatten out to, I don't know, like the size of like a binder. So it's like just this big plastic pouch. And so when I'm at like, let's say a campground that has a spigot somewhere, maybe, a few, like 100 yards away, I could fill that up there and I'll have it on me when I'll have a ton of water with me so I don't have to keep making trips. I've used it to help other people by transporting water that have needed it because it carries extra. I carry a little bit in there at all times in case I run out of water. You have to think about the dryness or the climate that you're in. For example, like the Nazca lines, it may not be that hot there, but it is one of the driest deserts on Earth that may go years without rain at a time. So you will feel your lips will start to crack. You'll just breathing. That's even in altitude as well. Like Quito, for example, you will lose a lot of hydration just by breathing, not sweating. You are going to lose it fast, and it's just through breathing. So having a lot on you is really important. And a fun, good tip that I know of is that when you're boiling noodles, because pasta is a very common thing on trips like this, is get noodles that don't take a long time to cook. Like, don't get shells or spirals. Get like angel hair or thinner spaghetti because you use less water to boil it. So it uses up less water and less gas because it cooks faster.
Wow.
There you go.
Good tips, man. Those are good
That's a
tips.
good one.
Speaking of tips, for
Also,
somebody,
I'd like to add in, water is not the only thing that you should think about when you're on the road, especially if you're sweating a lot and you're losing a lot of water. Sugar is another one. Sugar is one that your body definitely requires, and you will release a lot of it when you are sweating profusely and your energy is getting drained, it's getting zapped. Sugar it's always nice to have, like, I don't know, some kind of, the kind of like electrolyte cubes that they sell in the camping stores, like
yeah,
those kind of things,
Yeah.
the gels. Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why they sell those, because those are actually, quite helpful in regards to when you're hiking and stuff like that. So because you do lose a lot of sugar and you want to replace your sugar, so just keep that in mind. It's not just water, it's also sugar as well.
Yeah,
okay.
electrolytes is a big one. I like to think of riding like this is I don't know if you guys ever played The Sims, that video game where you basically play a character that, if they're hungry, their bar goes to like from green to red. If they have to go to the bathroom, it goes from green to red. It's like there's all these different resources that you're taking into consideration, whether it be fuel or cell phone battery or water or food. So like there's many different resources that will dwindle or need to be monitored that change in supply all the time. So yeah, water, electrolytes is one of them to follow your own health. And it's good to I keep powder electrolytes as an emergency supply because I have gotten sick so many times on this journey. And when you're alone, it'll be the only trip of the day if you can somehow make it out of your lodging situation, hostel, whatever, to get to a pharmacy to find electrolytes. So like having the powder on you because it doesn't take up space is a really good thing to have because um, yeah, there may be some illness that hits you and you can't move real fast or far and you don't have a lot of help.
Wow. Um, it's interesting. I'm trying to figure where to go because I was going to ask about bikes, but we'll get to that. So let's talk about like a multi-day trip or multi-day trip. We've already talked about electrolytes and water. Like what are other necessities that, you should have on a trip like that? 3 to 7 days.
Something that makes light at night. Also, just in terms of electronics and batteries, just being able to have anything visual at night is nice because then you could stretch your day out a little bit more. Or let's say you arrive at a place late, just using the headlight of the motorcycle. I've been jaded because of batteries. So I just don't want to do that. The having batteries or just some sort of source of light. Having a portable battery to charge your cell phone or any other devices is also very helpful for even an emergency situation. So I would definitely put a little emphasis on some electronics because
Right,
that'll
right,
help
right.
with the comfort aspect and navigation and keeping things on top of stuff.
Now, I don't mean to be uh, how like night vision goggles, would that be is that too much? Like,
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
I mean,
I would say no,
if
but
if you're trying to go hunting or something, in the middle of the night, then they're all if that's something that you need, to go to see in the nighttime, then yeah, why not? But
right.
I
Okay,
think
how late?
that's one of those. I think that's one of those things where if you brought that, you would probably either send it back home or give it away.
Gotcha.
So
yeah,
I was gonna say, how late in the night do you ride? Like because I mean, you guys, I don't know what like street light situations are like, but like, how late into the night do you ride?
technically, I try to avoid night riding completely.
same.
Like the
Yeah.
minute that I know that I'm going to be riding into the night, I will try to find a place, like 6 o'clock, 6:30, whatever. So I definitely don't think that it's good to ride at night. So at all.
Okay. Okay.
No, no, I avoid it anytime I can. There are some people that I know of that have made it a habit to go to campgrounds late because they know that they could set up a tent and they're fine with doing it in the dark. I prefer not to. I don't like being in towns I don't know with speed bumps that'll sneak up on you that you don't see. There's a safety factor in some places that you're just not familiar with as well. Um, but as on the night vision thing, no, I would definitely not bring night vision. But there are headlamps that have white, lights for seeing, but also red. And it's kind of nice to have a red lamp when you're in a tent, because in case you need to get up to go pee or you're trying to find something, you can use the red lamp, and it doesn't kill your night vision in your eyes.
Right.
Your eyes
Right.
are still adjusted to the dark using the red lamp. So I would suggest getting that. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Um. Very, very interesting. So let's get to motorcycles. For I heard you guys talk about the ability to control these motorcycles, but for somebody trying to get into riding, what would you suggest for a first bike for them? Or not riding, adventure riding.
As far as first bike goes, you definitely want to choose a bike that's not too heavy for you. Because I've seen people get a bike that's a bit too heavy, and then when I say too heavy, it doesn't mean just weight, but also height. Um, height and also the weight of it can really be a factor in how you handle the bike. It's better to start off small. If you can start off and maybe even if you just want to do a lot of off road, I would say, enduro is one of the better ways to go. And then, you know, get a bike that you think that you can handle it. It also depends on what you want to do. If you just want to
Yeah.
cruise and you want to do just gravel roads, then you could probably get a little bit a larger bike than you want. But if you want to send your bike, if you really want to do some stuff on your bike, and you want to learn how to do some stuff on your bike, I would suggest getting a lighter bike to do things on first, and then get a bigger bike. Um, but usually, I mean, I think people tend to just get a bigger bike in the first place, and then they learn how to. You can just learn how to do it on that. But I think the best way to do it is to just go smaller and then go up.
Gotcha. I've seen Jimbo. I've seen some people have been on like 250 Honda dirt trail bikes, traveling around the world. I think there was a female I saw doing that. I mean, is that too small of a bike? Is it fine because you don't really need to go over 50 miles an hour?
I honestly, I've ran into a few folks that have had 250s, 300s. To be honest, it's if you can budget the time, like if speed is not an issue, if you're not going more than 50, 55 miles an hour anyway, and because I think a lot of the people in your head, like my example for me is I had it in my head that I'm going to be traveling on this multi-year journey like I would if I had a 3-week vacation. So I was thinking, all right, how many miles am I going to get on interstates? How fast can I go to these different places? How much can I pack in? But you gotta stretch it out. So like my first bike was a Kawasaki Vulcan 900, and that one was pretty good for lots of U.S. routes like interstate riding. So I would be on a lot of paved roads over long distances, going over the Great Plains and the American West. It was an effort to get adjusted to the lifestyle, but it was also for long distance over a 3-week period. But if you're thinking of doing something that's going to be for multiple years or even a year, let's say you're doing something that a time frame is going to be quite extended, and you'll have a lot of time to move between places. I don't think it's a bad thing at all to have something quite small. Speed shouldn't be the reason why you're doing this. It should, for many people, it might be, and that's maybe I spoke too soon on that. But
We're motorcyclists.
yeah, I mean, yeah, there's people that, to be honest, there are people that just want to hit 2 points, and that's fine. That's not
Yeah.
like Nomad said. It's what you're doing it for. And I wanted to be in and out of the culture. I want to see all these distant ruins. I want to see the sights as well as the people. I want to stay in a place for a while. I have the time. Some people, they speak none of the language and just want to go far and fast. And so you'll have to adjust the bike accordingly because if you're doing something that's between 2 points and you're doing it as fast as possible, trying to keep your butt from falling off, going over 60 miles an hour in a 250 for 10 hours a day. Wow, like that would be torture. It sounds terrible.
Right. Yeah, it does sound pretty bad. How do you guys balance how much tech you have on the bike, and how important is the ability to communicate?
The tech on a bike, honestly, it really just depends on what you're doing with that bike. I'll use myself as for example. I have a lot of tech on my bike. I changed the whole nose, the whole dashboard. I put front and rear suspension in. I put the tubeless tire in the rear. I did a lot of stuff on my bike, mainly because I knew that when I was going to travel, I was going to race as well. So I was setting my bike up to do some pretty tough riding and travel at the same time. Now, obviously, everyone's mission is different. I would say that I think that was kind of one of my bigger mistakes was putting so much tech on my bike, because it gets expensive when you start putting all this stuff on your bike. Um, I would say things like the basic things like GPS stuff. Definitely, if you can find a way to charge your phone, charge your navigation while you're riding, things like that, so that it won't get ruined by the rain and the cold, and you have to take the cable out of the charging port in and out, because that will ruin it. So if you can find a way to do some kind of wireless charging, that would be great. I mean, not everyone has that, but I think that really is a factor because I had that for a while, a non wireless charger, and it ruined the port of my cell phone because your phone's moving all over the place. But as far as tech goes, you just want to keep it basic, and until you need something specific. Like for instance, like I needed my suspension done because I was going to race. Um, I would say save your money, save your money, and use it for travel. That's probably my biggest advice when it comes to putting so much tech on your bike and adding all these different farkles and things like that. So it's very easy to buy a bike and just go down the adventure market and just buy.
It's happened right there. I think it just like my motto is more tech, more problems.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's kind of appropriate in this situation, but I have, like he was just saying as he left, he had an Africa Twin, people go out and buy an Africa Twin because it has all these bells and whistles. It
Right.
came with it came with more problems. I think the reason I had as many battery problems as I did is because I can't bump start the battery when I have a regular battery in it. So if I
Okay.
don't have lithium and I have an AGM, a gel, I cannot ride it down a mountainside, put it in gear, and use the momentum to start the battery. There are too
Really?
many computers, too much. Yeah. And
Wow.
if you have that, so it needs a lithium.
Right.
And then when you have a lithium, you cannot jumpstart a lithium. You got to put it on a charger overnight or for a full day. And then if you don't have the lithium and you have your regular AGM or your gel style battery with the Africa Twin, you can't start it below 15 Celsius, which is like 60. Like if it starts getting into the 50s or 40s, it won't start. There's too much demand. There's too many computers. It's checking the how much gasoline is in the tank every few seconds, so it shows like an actual like gauge of how much is in there.
Yeah.
Hey, it shows how much the screen and all of the lights. There's also the navigation as well. There's a Bluetooth running to connect to the phone that could be running music. There's all sorts of things that are going on at once, including the like several different minor things like the ABS. But like you could tell when you take it apart, there's all these panels and computers that you need to remove when you're
Right.
getting at the engine. Like I was saying, Nomad, to catch you up, is more tech, more problems. Like I got an Africa Twin, and it's been my experience. So the more that you have, I think even if you let's say you want to go as primitive as possible, you're not even using your phone to navigate, there's still upsides to that. I ran into people that do things old school and they run on paper maps, and when they stop and ask for directions, that's how some serious connections happen, and that's how people are invited into homes, and or they've been given great suggestions. So even if you decide to go more primitive, you even let's say you have like the Royal Enfields that always may break down in India, the older styles. They would have Royal Enfields on every corner, and sometimes going and getting something fixed could be a really great opportunity. So there's upsides and downsides to everything. But as far as my tech level, I guess like Nomad, it's also been higher. I have wanted to have music while I ride. I use my phone to navigate. That's actually connected to the screen and it shows Google Maps coming up on the heads-up dash display over the speedometer. But if you'd like, you could just use a mount and you could have the phone inside a case that's waterproof if necessary, and just navigate that way. So I mean, they're varying degrees, but I guess the rule of thumb is with the more conveniences you have, there's more points of failure.
Got you. Got you. So it's a cross between having a analog bike and just having enough tech that you can survive most situations. Now, with you and the lithium batteries and stuff like that, so do you think like having the extra batteries, having extra set of tires, is that something like to travel with? Maybe some brake pads, or in Nomad's case, some brake lines?
Yeah, brake pads are something that don't take up a lot of space, so I've always had those, and having extra parts I think is always a very good thing within reason, because I may not find these pads in this area. I may have to be in a major city in order to find the exact pads that will fit. Sometimes I found some off-brand Chinese that were suitable and compatible, but did not last as long or overheated very fast. So when you find good ones, it's good to know where they are and keep them if you can find them. But like as far as a battery, do not carry an extra battery. I'd rather carry a battery charger for the lithium and deal with doing the overnight than having to switch for a gel or AGM just to be on the run. I'm not in Dakar or anything like that, so like the time is not that big of an issue. I can afford to keep it there overnight. I've even rolled the motorcycle behind a shed and kept it there as I drove. I hitchhiked. I was I hitchhiked 4 hours in one direction to charge it in a Honda, and then came back and yeah, that was the whole thing. But like it's good to have these things on you rather than just to have. You can't plan for everything, but
Right.
but
Right.
Yeah.
And Nomad, I know you're obviously I saw your videos because you have you had tires that you were buying, putting on the bike, and I remember about a month and a half, 2 months, you weren't sure if your tires would have made it to where you can find new tires. In hindsight, do you think like, traveling with tires, or as we're talking about this, just these replacement parts stuff and service intervals and these kind of things, is that something one should add to their list if they know they're going away for 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as far as the wear and tear parts, things like brake pads, tires, things like that. Um, I think my thing is you will find it. You just have to really read. You have to dig. You have to find people who know where to go. Um, and the good thing is that there's all these WhatsApp groups, there's Facebook groups. You can ask the question, and someone will know someone who can get these parts. Um, that obviously there's dealership parts that are going to be very difficult to get. You have to probably ship them in, but with things like tires and stuff like that, you can find them. Now, I had a little bit of trouble finding tires from, I would say, from Angola up until maybe Nigeria. So I went from Angola, Congo, Brazzaville, Congo, Kinshasa, um, Cameroon, and then I got to Nigeria, and I was finally able to, find some decent tires. So you also have to plan, like, okay, so there's certain countries that you probably know that you're not going to be able to find certain things. Like I felt like Nigeria, like Lagos, Nigeria, I feel like I would be able to find a tire because there's a lot of adventure bikes there. There's a lot of big bikes there, and they get their tires from somewhere. So it's just a matter of just asking the question. Now, I am not a fan of carrying the tire with me. There's a lot of people who travel and will hold a tire on the side of their bag or their pannier. I hate that. I hate that. I hate
oh
that. I
yeah.
hate that. I've done it before, and I'm like, I will never do this again because it just makes the bike feel so cluttered, and it also makes the bike feel so lopsided, and it makes the bike feel so heavy. And the things that I'd like to do, the way that I like to travel, I definitely go in places where I'm gonna be going off road and doing some stuff. So I want my bike to be as light as possible. So I am more of a fan of when you start to see wear and tear on your tire and you start to realize it, start looking, start asking questions. Where can I find this tire? Where can I get these tires? I have this size wheel. Like, where can I get this? And eventually, someone is you're going to find it. And that's the thing. You're going to find it. And that's always been my thing with travel is when you need it, you're going to find it. You're going to find it somewhere. And it might not be what you get at, back home, but it'll be similar. It might be used, but you will find one. So, uh, power just went out.
Oh no way.
I was like, well, at least the internet is up. I was wondering what happened there.
It's just
Yeah. Hopefully, power will come back, pretty soon.
oh man.
But I'll start with Jimbo on this one right here, and then hopefully power will come back. There you go. There's some light there. Hopefully, things will work out. But hearing you guys talk about tires and brake pads, and I brought up the brake lines and stuff like that. How do you guys feel about what dealers say or manufacturers say service intervals should be? Because it sounds like you guys push beyond the service interval recommendation, like oil changes and these kind of things. And you've traveled Nomad through several countries without changing tires, which I assume is at least 3,000 miles. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of miles.
Yeah, no, I had a couple things on carrying a tire on your bike, and I'll get to intervals. I promise.
Yeah.
Is to the layman, having a motorcycle on the outside of your bike, to the layman or someone observing from afar, it makes you look very experienced, but it is such a hassle. Like the balance is weird. You have to take it off and carry it into every place that you're going to sleep in case somebody takes it. It's just a huge hassle. So I have never ridden with a tire on the outside expecting to, oh, well, I'll just push this one as long as I can. I either change it early or plan accordingly.
Okay.
And I think of it like, and maybe you guys maybe growing up in the 90s, there was a video game called Oregon Trail where you would whenever you'd cross America, you're in a major city, that's the time. That's when you find this, that, and the other thing. So I've planned, okay, sounds like the tire's getting a little low. This next city is going to be a chance. I'm going to do it early. I'm going to change it early because I know all the way to the end of this country, I'm not going to find anything. So it's okay to leave a little on the table and do it early, as I've heard it said. Like, yeah, there's probably a few more 1,000 kilometers or miles on this, and maybe you can make some money selling it, which I've done. I've gone onto Marketplace and I've sold it because I knew that it was not going to take me further, and it's way better than just carrying it on me.
Right.
Also, in Nicaragua, personal story is Nicaragua did not have my size of tire. The rear tire is 150 in width, and there was nothing over 130 or maybe 140. It was impossible to find a 150. I called every single tire manufacturer or importer or everyone, even rental agencies of motorcycles, in case they had anything of that size. They said it was not possible to find my size tire. However, there are tables that you can go online and find like tires that will fit imperfectly. So I was able to find a Chinese tire that was not perfect in width on the rim. It did have like the rims were sticking out a little weird on the side. And when it over 50 miles an hour, it just like it was so annoying. But I was able to put it on there and bring it out of the country. So if you can find the tables online, they're very easy to find. You could look up like just like what size rim fits with one. And I know with AI, it's much easier now that it's integrated into Google searches, but you'll be able to find some tables that will show, okay, what dimensions are quasi compatible with whatever you can find. And like Nomad was saying, it's good to just be flexible and no, you're not going to find your favorite brand. No, you're not going to find the exact 50-50 that you're looking for. Maybe it's something that's just going to take you a little ways. And if you're flexible enough, you got the time, you can sell it down the road. So not getting your favorite toothpaste is going to happen. Like you're going to have to find something that'll make it work. So
I know we haven't even. Go ahead.
Yeah, but in terms of intervals, yeah, I keep spreadsheets on Google Drive. They make free spreadsheets that you can put in. So I have, I could maybe even send a picture of it so that you could get it, Rex. Maybe you could put it in show notes or something. But basically, I have like all these columns of what kilometer I did the change or the interval at, or mile. I have it in both because I'm looking at my manual versus what is on the bike versus when. So I put it in both. And then when it's going to change, when I need to do the next one, what date it was, where it was, how long did the last one last? And then I keep another tab that's just the rap sheet. Every single issue that I've had, some problems that I've had. It's like imagine if I were buying a bike and someone gave me the entire history of everything that had happened. I would love to have something like that. So I'm making it. I started it at some point in, well into the journey already, but I figure the longer I wait, the less history I'll have. So I just started. And so I look at it periodically and I look at how many kilometers or miles I'm at. And I'm like, all right, this change should be coming soon. When I'm in this town, when I'm passing through this area, I'll keep a lookout. So I do sometimes, as it said, leave it on the table. I'll make a change before it's necessary. I'll change the oil before I know that I'll need to, or the brake pads, because I know I'm not going to find them. That's okay, and that'll happen. But it's also okay to go a little over. I know I've gone way over on oil before, just because I know that it's going to be this long highway, and I know it's better to do it there. Or I'll find good oil that'll be compatible. Like sometimes it's okay to go a little over, but it's also within reason. You got to check your pads and things like that. So it's a give take depending on what it is, but I like to keep a record of it as well.
Right. It sounds like from the outside, and I'm still on the outside looking in, it seems like people are just free spirited. But it sounds like there's a lot of planning that goes into everything, even though you're having fun.
Yeah, it's no vacation.
And so I want to ask this. From I got a question for both you guys and before we get out of here, just past the hour. You know, you talked about camping and the traveling and the service and all that. From a I don't know, spider sense perspective, right? Is there a campsite that you say, okay, I'm not going to camp here tonight because it just doesn't feel right, or I set up and I've been here for 4 hours, but now something doesn't feel right. Do I pack up and go? Do I stick it out for the night? What are the spider senses like, when you get to a place and you're camping out and you're not at an Airbnb or anything like that?
Well, to be honest with you, my spidey senses go off more when I get to an accommodation like a hotel or something in a neighborhood.
Okay.
Camping wise, it doesn't really go off that much because usually I choose a spot that seems pretty cool. It's nice, and I'm the only one around. And there might be a little village somewhere like nearby. Um, but the only time I really get a little weird is just when the accommodation is in a neighborhood that I just feel like it's a bit sketchy, which is why I no longer book in advance because I've booked in advance and gotten to the neighborhood and I just didn't want to stay there. But yeah, but as far as camping goes, especially in Africa, I mean, Southern Africa, you can pretty much camp anywhere and you'll be fine. To be honest with you, West Africa, like Central Africa, I haven't really had many camping experiences. Maybe up until I think I camped once in Congo, but again, like it was near a village. Everybody was friendly. You just see some goat herders just coming passing by, waking up. You wake up in the morning and they just want to say hi. But camping, yeah, it's been good. I mean, you do want to keep a sense of awareness when you are camping and where you're camping because you could camp somewhere that is not very safe. Um,
But I assume
but
also weather-wise, right? Too, because it could flood out. Your tent could be surfing the next morning.
yeah, of course. I mean, you want to, you don't, especially if you're camping near a lake, just look at the area. Is it look like, the water has risen, past where you're putting the tent down? Um, you want to look at, are you on a hill? Like how high on a hill are you? Are you the tallest thing on the hill? Like the one time I've camped out and I was the tallest. I was the highest point on the hill, and I was watching a thunderstorm come my way. And I was just like, this is not good because I am at the peak of the hill right now, and if anything, if there was a thunderstorm coming my way and lightning bolt comes down, it's going to hit me. So there's just little things like that you have to take into factor. Also, like in Africa, wildlife. You look at wildlife, and I wouldn't be so worried about tigers, lions, or things like that. I would be more worried about elephants and buffalo.
Really?
Buffalo. Yeah, if you wake up and you are surrounded by a herd of buffalo outside your tent, you better stay there. Just stay there. Don't even move because they have taken some of the most lives because they don't bluff charge. They just charge you.
Yeah.
Elephants bluff charge. Hippos bluff charge. But Cape buffaloes do not bluff charge. And once one charges at you, they will all start charging at you. It's quite it's actually kind of crazy.
Right.
Lions and things like that, when they see you, they'll run.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll run. They won't
You
stick
say it
around.
so
I know
calmly.
it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy, but things like because I have stumbled upon a lion on foot during my last my travels before this one, and I have come across a lion while I was hiking or just walking with the rangers, and they'll just run. They'll run away. Elephants won't necessarily run. They will face you, and they'll like be like, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" And they will bluff charge you. They might just charge you. Um, Cape buffalo will just charge you. That's it. Yeah. A hippo would charge you if you stood between them and the water. If they were on land and you were between them and the water and their home, then they will charge you. Yeah.
Gotcha. And have you had a situation where you had to say, I got to pack up camp and go before the sun came up?
I've heard of one.
Sir? No, I said, have you had a situation? I said, have you had a situation where you had to pack up camp and go? Like, you're all set up for the night, and then it's 2 a.m. or whatever time, and things don't feel right, and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna pack up and go.
No, that's actually not happened to me. I've actually heard. I've had people that have in the middle of the night they felt like they needed to go, or they were in a thunderstorm or something like that, and they just started packing their stuff up and going. But there you go. There it is.
Hey,
Let there be light.
and this is Africa, man. But yeah, so I've never had that experience where I've had to pack up camp early and head out. No.
Okay.
Never.
Nice. How about yourself, Jimbo?
Weather has definitely been one of the reasons that I've packed up and changed my accommodation. I've been in a place for a really long time, and then there was a wind advisory in Ushuaia, which shut down the entire campgrounds, which sucked because I arrived in the rain and set everything up, and then I was miserable. I was cold. I was taking a hot shower to bring my body temperature back up to normal, and they said, we're shutting down everything. You have to find another place to go. You have to leave. I was not happy about that. That was a bad day.
Wow.
I've heard there is a story of some people that were I think they were in South Africa. They were invited into a man's house that they were staying at. I don't remember how they had met them, but they were kind of getting a tour of the place. And he invited them into his basement to kind of show him like the property. And in the basement was a bunch of Nazi memorabilia and regalia. And they just went, we're not going to say anything. We're just going to go. Just go. And they just left.
Bye,
They're
Felicia.
like, no, yeah, we're not about this. And it will leave them guessing. It just dust, just nothing. There's trying to think of like an example of like any reason that I've done it. I have reconsidered staying at a place because I knew a holiday was coming, and the place that I was staying at, like a weekend was coming for this holiday, and it was like during the week it's super. There's nothing going on, but it has like a pool and a bar, and it's where people like it's a venue. It's like where people have weddings and people like hold quinceañeras and stuff. So I guaranteed was going to have a bunch of rowdiness and noise and everything when I wanted to wake up and do something the next day. So like I'd considered where I was going to stay and found a different accommodation because I knew that night, like I think I was in Nazca and I was going to fly over the lines to see the Nazca lines from a plane early the next day, and I didn't want to have to be with a bunch of drunk people nearby. So I've thought about noise. I've thought weather. Animals haven't really made me consider plans like bears in in the Arctic is something carrying bear mace on you, knowing what they sound like when they pass by. They thump around like a human. They have no predators, so they will snap twigs and stuff like that as they're walking around. Everything used to terrify me, whether it was a rabbit or a deer, but now it's kind of you get an ear for it after a while. I hear kangaroos are terrifying because they walk with the cadence and sound like a human when they go by. So you don't really think about it until you're in a tent at night in another country, and every single sound there's no windows in your tent. You don't know what there is. So can't imagine Africa. but like buffalo, large megafauna freak me out. They scare me. I give them a lot of space, but yeah, I haven't had to leave a place
Okay.
because I felt a bad feeling that I can think of off the top of my head right now. I've definitely changed because I was invited to another place. I had friends meeting up somewhere else. It's never been out of safety issues, other than probably weather.
Gotcha. Hey, listen, man, I'm only used to sleeping at the racetrack or hotels close to the racetrack. And so I only have there was a sketchy hotel that I stayed at once, and the alarm went off at like 2 a.m. for like 15 minutes. And I was like, all right, there's a point where you have to just invest a certain amount of money for a point of return. So saving
Yeah.
too much money is a problem sometimes when it sounds too good to be true.
Yeah. Sometimes the really cheap ones, you take off the bed sheet and things scatter. Like, it's okay to pay a little bit more sometimes.
No doubt. One more question before we get out of here. Fatigue. Like, how do you guys deal with fatigue? Because you're en route to somewhere, or maybe you're just going out for the day. And I know, Jimbo, you said it earlier. You want to make sure you can swim back to shore.
Yeah.
So how do you guys deal with fatigue and all that? Because we talked about the water, but do you guys stop for lunch? Do you pack lunch? Do you is it beef jerky? What's the situation like?
I do a lot of sandwiches. I'll keep some things that should be refrigerated for at least maybe even one whole day. I think that even like cold cuts and cheese is fine over one day if you can find it. I do like to find dried meats when I can. There's a lot of things that I'll get on the side of the road, but like fruits and vegetables and nuts really work for like food. For fatigue, doing long distances over highways or dirt, it's incredible how stopping for 15 minutes just to walk around can change your morale. It can change your energy level. It can change your focus. It's super important to budget in your time. Like, if I'm going to go to this place and Google Maps says 4 hours, just imagine it'll be 5.5 and you'll be good. Just put something on the end of that, because if you're going nonstop for too long, it's miserable. It can be. But in terms of long distance travel, I also think at even in a larger scale, I like to take time to rest in some places. I want to watch Netflix or read or not do things. I'm not experiencing things. I'm not planning things. I'm not doing laundry or admin work. I'm literally doing nothing. There are days, those nothing days, I think, are really important for the long-term, long-distance battery, because it's unsustainable to constantly be experiencing and fixing or maintaining or planning all the time. Like a job, having a weekend is real helpful. So it's the same with doing a life like this. Yes, it's interesting. There's fun things going on, but there is burnout. It does happen. So I also think of it in terms of a large scale, not just during the day, but on week long or month long scale, taking time, which right now I'm kind of doing currently. So it's nice.
How about yourself, though, man?
Yeah, I mean, burnout is a real thing. It's like Jimbo said. I mean, especially when you're doing all this extra stuff like social media stuff and things like that, and you're constantly on the computer, and you're constantly trying to make videos. Sometimes as you're traveling, sometimes you just want to sit back and enjoy the scenery, but you also know that you need to do some social media stuff, or you have to make some kind of video or take some kind of photo, so you have to post it. So there's that, and there's also just when you're on the road, you always want to make sure that you get enough sleep. That's especially if you have a long day, if you have a long ride ahead of you, if you know it's going to take you about 6 hours or something to get to the next point, the next destination. You just want to make sure that you get enough sleep the night before, drink a lot of water. Also, eating. Don't have a massive meal if you have a long ride, because it will 100% make you sleepy. Like, as you're on the road, if you wake up and eat a huge breakfast, you are going to feel super sleepy as you're riding. It's just.
I think you're hurting your mom's feelings right there, because Jamaicans are used to having large breakfasts.
Yeah, And also like I think it's worse when you wake up in the morning and you have a small breakfast, and then for lunch you have a big lunch. Um, Usually after that lunch, and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you are going to feel so sleepy, and to ride when you feel sleepy is just it's the worst. It's the worst feeling. I mean, I'm sure everyone here has ridden a motorcycle when they felt sleepy. Um,
Yep.
it's not a fun experience because you find like you're kind of like starting to close your eyes a little bit. You're like, oh wow, I'm actually falling asleep. Like I'm like really getting lazy here, and then your reaction time becomes slower, and it can be very dangerous. So I would say definitely no big meals while you're riding. Definitely no.
Yeah, I would say quality of meals is important too because there was a time where I didn't really know how to cook on the road, and I would literally get can of tuna, bag of peanuts, and tortillas, and I would just throw the tuna in the tortilla, and that would be a lunch. You feel like crap, like your energy level's low. Why aren't I enjoying this place? It's because you're what you're putting in is what you're going to get out. It really it pays to put a little extra effort into either learning how to cook or pick up some ideas from strangers. Look online. There are ways to navigate the food, the culinary scene of living on a motorcycle with no refrigeration. You don't
Mhm.
have to go to restaurants all the time. It's going to kill your budget. It's learn how to cook on the road. It's very helpful.
Mhm.
I got you. One last one before we get out of here. What about those riders that have a trailer? Because having a refrigerator, like I have a refrigerator in my trailer, and I love it. I went like 10 years with just a cooler and ice, and buying ice, and replacing ice, and now I have a refrigerator. Have you thought about hooking up a trailer to the back of your bike to have more space for a little bit more creature comforts?
Oh
I would maybe. I have never thought of it, but I would if I had like, let's say if I were going to all the national parks in America, and that there was a lot of interstate riding, and I was going from place to park to park to park, and you knew that like it wouldn't be that rough. I can't imagine going off roading or climbing a rocky hill with the trailer. That sounds worse than anything. Never thought of that. Yeah.
Off-road suspension on a trailer, man. I mean, it could
Is
it
that
could
I
work.
don't even know. Yeah.
It could work, but I guess it would be. It depends how much time you do on the road. But and I say that to say that like they are trailers now pretty equipped with doing some extreme off-roading. You know what I mean. So when you mentioned refrigeration and stuff like that, is that a sacrifice worth taking to say, hey, I can tow like a little I don't know 1x2 trailer, right? So I can carry more stuff. I can live a bit more comfortable.
Um, Honestly, I mean, if that makes you feel comfortable, I would say go for it. For me, that's a hard no for me. I would never attempt that. I would never. That's just when I travel, I want my bike to be light. I don't want to have to worry about carrying more stuff. Now, I have seen someone build a cooler or something similar to a cooler on the rear rack of their bike, and they're
Uh-huh.
able to put ice in it and all that stuff. And they can lock it down so that it doesn't spill or the top doesn't come off, things like that. So I've seen people do that. Um, but also they also have soft coolers, so they have a
All right.
soft bag. You just the thing is you just got to fill it with ice. Obviously the ice will melt, so you have a very limited time before your beer stays cold. um, but at the end of the day, I think depending on what you want to do, if you want to go up that mountain and see that view, having a trail on the back of your bike, you might not be able to do that. So that's that. I think that's the thing with riding a motorcycle and doing adventures in a motorcycle. You want to get to places. Some people they want to get to places where it's it's kind of off the beaten path. And I think when you start adding stuff like that to your bike, you're limiting your ability and what you are going to be able to do with that bike. So
Yeah, I'm thinking of like you would plan your route around ice, or if you had a fridge that would keep things cool, you're going to have to plan on budgeting the electricity, the output of your battery. I mean, there'd be a lot more maintenance in general, or just things to carry with you. So, I mean, like the more tech, more problems, more equipment, more
yeah,
problems too. You do adapt. I think people will be surprised exactly how much abuse you can get on the road. I found myself asking people, "Hey, do you have like in Chile and Argentina?" I'd say like, "Is there warm water here?" And they're like, "Yeah, everywhere." And I've been asking that question for through much more difficult nations, and
Right.
didn't realize exactly how rugged I am asking this question. Yeah, of course, yeah. How everybody's got hot water? Why? Yeah. So
Oh
you'd
my
be surprised
goodness.
what you can get used to.
We're gonna have to talk about that. Some of the questions that you ask and the answers that you get for the next show. And from when you guys started to where you guys are now, because I'm pretty sure it's a lot different. I want to thank you too for coming on and chopping this thing up tonight today, and tell people how they can find you. We start with Jimbo.
Yeah, you can find me Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon. Just look up Two Wheels, One Compass. It's the number two wheels, number one compass. I got stuff coming out every couple days, whether it's a blog or a reel, and stories every day. And yeah, you can find those. Yeah, again, Two Wheels, One Compass.
yeah, you can find me at Nomad on Two Wheels. I'm on Instagram, YouTube. I also have a Patreon as well. My Facebook is M Quinton Bynum. But yeah, you can find me on those platforms.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it again. And my name is Rex45. Is B4evaKool Adventure. Until next time. Peace.
Bye.